And I understand why the self-ideas want this like social community reward that you get if you say you're a part of the LGBT community. Like if you just say you're queer, like you don't even have to have gay sex. You don't even have to, you know what I mean? Like you can just say you're that and you get these people that will support you and defend you even if you're wrong. And
wow.
it's, you know what I mean? There's like a social reward now. And if they really understood like what it's like when it's not like that in the world, I think people
That's right.
Differently.
That's right. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me again for my YouTube channel. And I just want to say thank you everyone for really coming back and seeing what I'm bringing here to the conversation. And today I'm really excited about a new guest that I have who reached out to me, which is always so powerful. And before I do that, remember, like, subscribe, comment. Those are so important. I read all of them and you guys are really amazing in what's happening here. So, and even pushback, you know, I don't want everything to just be, yeah, Buck, you're right, because that's not true. I'm not always right. So, I'll say it. I'm honest. I'm not. But anyway, because again, most of all of this is opinion or fact based. So here I have today a young person. Her name is Deanna, and she reached out to me on Instagram, and she has a very interesting perspective and story she wanted to discuss with me. So first off, thanks, Deanna, for joining me today. I really appreciate you a lot. And why don't you introduce yourself to the people out there?
Buck, I just want to say first, thank you for having me. I think not just my voice is important, but it's very important that you're out there spreading the truth and everyone watching is doing the right thing. And it's good thing that you're talking about these things, and thank you for having me. But yeah, I'm Deanna. I'm 23, and I'm a lesbian, and I also went to alternative high school when I was a teenager. Like all 4 years of high school I went, and it was a therapeutic like sect of alternative schools. Like they have like alternative schools that people like have more behavioral issues where they like fight and stuff, like other kids and have like issues like that. And then there's like kids that fall under the therapeutic category, which is like emotionally disturbed or learning disabled. And like it's anything from like ADHD to autism for the learning stuff. And then for even though it says like emotionally disturbed, it's not like that. It's just like you have anxiety through schizophrenia, like that whole scale of all mental illness, like that kids go through. So, and I think it's important to talk about because the majority of us were gay, we're LGBT, we're trans, and I think we need to talk about it, not in a like FU way about this, but in a way that really talks about how there is a connection of mental illness with being trans, and that gender dysphoria is a mental illness that you can get treatment for. And yeah, I just want to like make that connection on here with you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. You know, I own my disorder, and I do have a disorder. And for some reason today, people are saying trans is not a disorder. Of course it is. That's why you go through a medical space. It's why you see a therapist. If it wasn't a disorder, it was just like, why are you trans then? So it's quite hypocritical, as well as actually damaging to not only myself, but to trans people who really are honest about their disorder. So when you wrote me, you were explaining to me about when you were in this school and the things that you saw, and the things that you saw, which I read, were pretty much, I think I know that's happening, but it doesn't matter that I think or I know it's happening. What's important is that we have a person sitting here who has actually seen these things that we're about to talk about. And that's why you're here. So,
and it was before it was mainstream too. Like we were really exiled from mainstream schools. And that's kind of also a leading cause, like bullying. Every kid there was bullied too. Like it was like, I don't know. And then today it's almost not like that. And everyone is kind of like how the alternative kids were, but that's not how anybody should like aspire to be. Like, it was hard. Like, it's hard having mental illness. It's hard dealing with addiction. It's lifelong, like, thing. And if you have to take medication, like being trans, you got to take testosterone or all these meds for the rest of your life. And it's hard to let kids make those decisions. And how,
it's not that I think that we shouldn't be talking about it. What I think is the problem is that these kids are self-diagnosing themselves, and that's really dangerous. And that's why I see so many detransitioners, because if I talk to a lot of them, and mostly what they say is they weren't really diagnosed on some level, or they were diagnosed in 15 minutes. As you and I both know, that's virtually impossible. You cannot diagnose somebody in 15 minutes.
Yes. For me to go to that school, I had to get classified, it's called. I talked to 10 different health care professionals. I talked to psychiatrists. I talked to doctors. I talked to people that came from the local college that were in specialty of this. And all kinds of people talked to me to really make sure what was wrong with me, because not in a like, fuck you, wrong with you way, but like, there's, something different about me. And
yes,
that's why I need extra care. And that care has to be so specific, because the care for someone with bipolar disorder is so different than BPD. It's so different than being trans, then so different than having any kind of dysphoria, like having delusions of any kind. And, it should be addressed very
because all disorders are different. So now I see these disorders being put under the trans umbrella, right? Which is also so bizarre to me. Like, let's just use the example, autism. Autistic people are now like immediately trans. And I'm going to tell you, I don't necessarily believe that's true. They definitely might have autism, but how does that immediately make you trans?
You said the connection before. It's the self-ID. They're self-IDing as autism. They don't have that a lot of them don't have that I don't want to be, but like, I'm not saying that as a mean person.
No.
That they say I don't agree with the BPD diagnosis and I identify with the autistic experience, and that makes me autistic.
Autistic experience?
Yes, you what? Hashtag that. Type in that hashtag on Instagram. It's not there. And that's wrong, because
that's wrong.
I have so many friends that are on the spectrum that I went to this school with, and these are real people. I know how it is actually, and you can't self-ID. No one would let you go through school not helping you. Like, you can't say that you have great grades and you're autistic. Like, it's reflective of your ability to do school. Like, that's why it's a learning disability. You can't identify as that. That's not how you feel. Like,
that's right. That's the same as I say with trans. Trans is not a feeling. Right. It's not. That's why when you start and I'm totally against self-ID, because it's causing this is what's causing, all the problems. And I'll use the example of the Club Q shooter. The Club Q shooter now all of a sudden identifies as non-binary, and the all non-binary community is like, no, they're not. I'm like, wait a minute, you've all been saying anyone can self-ID as non-binary, except, so this is, even though maybe they're not, maybe they are using it. But what I'm trying to point out is how dangerous self-ID is. And you're saying the same thing.
Yes, I know that, because no one that went through what I went through would identify as that if they knew, like,
that's right,
how it is to really ride the short bus for 4 years of your life. Like, you don't know the exile. Like, you don't know, like, your whole town, like, not, wanting to be your friend. Like, the first friend I ever had, I was 13, and no one ever talked to me. Kids would say horrible things about me, and it's
sorry.
I know, like,
I'm sorry.
I just want to say this too. Like, when I got everyone has this story though. Like, everyone feels like since I was young, I felt different. I feel ostracized, and I understand why the self-IDers want this like social community reward that you get if you say you're a part of the LGBT community. Like if you just say you're queer, like you don't even have to have gay sex. You don't even have to, you know what I mean? Like you can just say you're that, and you get these people that will support you and defend you even if you're wrong. And it's, you know what I mean? There's like a social reward now, and if they really understood like what it's like when it's not like that in the world, I think people
That's right.
differently.
That's right. That's so powerful, Deanna. That is so powerful. That's what people need to hear. It's not fun and games. I keep saying it from the trans side. I don't understand why anyone would want to be trans, right? Or why somebody would want to have autism, or somebody would want to have any type of disorder. It fucks your whole life up. You know, me and you are walking the world functioning, but we're still dealing with whatever we have been diagnosed and have. And it's real and it's true. And it's something I wish I didn't have. You know, I wish I was born a man. I don't want to be trans. It's not fun. And that's where this has gone astray as far as I'm concerned. Right now we don't need diagnoses. Anybody could have it. You get affirmation if you're autistic or you're trans and are BPD. I see a lot of BPD. I see a lot of these disorders being discussed through the younger generation. Like, you know, it's in their, what do you call it? Their bios.
Yeah, right next to the pronouns too.
I mean, I come from a generation where we tried to get rid of labels, and we were like, we're gender nonconforming. We don't want to tell you, you know, we aren't anything. We're ever changing human beings. And now it's so, we've shoved these younger people into this idea of labels are who you are, right? And that's just not true.
Yes, and I think that's incredibly more harmful to the greater society, because it will lead to like confusion, but confusion to agree that you're not doing the right treatments for yourself to actually get better. And I think that's what's leading to a lot of the tribal issues we have with all like the elections and whose side you're on. You're transphobic, you're not transphobic, you're voting for this person, you're not. And like, that's not really the point in all this. And I think we're losing a lot of rights too in all of this. It's masked by like political movement.
Well, we become a political movement. Trans is, when you start bringing people like Dylan to the White House, I mean, my God, you know how many other trans people who are been in this community and have been fighting for our rights for millions of years, like whatever, like are not looked at. That's just insulting to our community. It is, because he brought an influencer. He didn't bring an actual long-lived trans person who has a huge amount of lived experience and could actually speak to what's happening. But he brought, and that's, to me, I knew it. It's a political move. And it's like, next thing you're going to bring, you know, all these, not that autistic people shouldn't be speaking out. They should, 100%. We need to learn about it. We need to understand it. It feels like to me, more and more people have it. But is that from self-ID or is that from actual diagnosis? Do you even know? Or
it, like, I'm not a doctor in this, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, but
like what I know from the trans people I have, the gay trans people, all the people I went to that school with, like all the people that are in my life, like, sorry, what'd you say?
No, it's okay. It's okay. So basically but I want to get back to your school, So tell me, like, what was happening there that you saw that was sort of like, basically what you're saying to me, you saw a lot of people basically taking on these identities. Is that correct? Yeah. Like trans.
Yes. Yeah, like it's hard to like really describe what era this really was, like 2014 Tumblr. Like, you know what I mean? This
totally.
Like, I mean, I was in it. I was wearing the skinny jeans and had the hair, and you know, I suffered greatly. I'm making jokes, but like, it was also, there was girls that were also self-mutilators that were not just, like LGBT, but like, like girls that cut themselves and listen to a lot of metal music and, you know, like there's a lot of kids like that.
Right.
But there was also a lot of trans people. And I mean, I went to treatment one time and I was gone for a month, and then I came home and two of my very close friends were theys now, and they had different names. And still to this day, like, I call them that name, both of them that name.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think they really use they, like, literally in life. Like,
Oh, so that's
but
right.
they're still very
Mhm,
female. Like, they
mhm.
only wear female. I don't want to, like, even, like, talk bad about,
You're not.
they
You're
don't
not.
feel bad about it, but
You're
they are
not.
not a they to the world. That
So it's more like a
female.
so it's
But,
more
yeah.
like a group space, right? Where you want to be part of a group. So
Yes.
you become this sort of identity that's hot, and the hot
Mhm.
identity is non-binary or trans,
Yes.
and so you take on this label because it's a label. As if you're not getting a diagnosis, it's a label, and so you
Yes.
take on this label in order to be a part of. Is that sort of
Yes.
correct?
To kind of gain
Social,
communal acceptance,
yeah,
and also I
yeah,
think it's like, not everyone, you know what I mean? But I think it's
sure,
more often than not, they have problems with their families too.
hmm,
Like, they got
yeah,
issues with their moms and dads.
yeah,
And I think the name change aspect is very appealing to shed this old life, to become
yes,
detached from the
yes.
trauma you went through, how they treated you, like how they didn't care, how they,
Yes,
all the things you're going through when you're a kid with mental illness. I mean,
that's right. I went through it all, my friend,
yeah,
and I'm 60, so I was going through all this stuff in the 70s mostly, and
I couldn't imagine.
getting
I mean, the school I went through, the oldest kind of schools there were opened in the 90s. Like, I
right,
couldn't
right,
imagine going through that in public school with you. I mean,
yeah. It was
we
horrifying.
yes.
Actually, yeah, it was. But you find your space and you navigate it,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and I got bullied a lot for being like a boy when I was a girl, and I got into fights, physical fights a lot, and I dealt with all that nonsense, and it happens, and people get bullied for all kinds of reasons. That's just part of it. Is on some level, I don't agree with bullying. It's
Mm,
horrible, but I do think it's normal, and it's been happening for normal, quote unquote normal, but it does
yeah.
happen. Kids do
Mhm.
that. Kids are actually mean on
Yes.
some level. They
Yes.
are.
Yes. Yes. They totally are. And I
Yeah,
don't think that's, like, going away. I think we're losing
yeah,
our rights, actually. Like,
yeah,
it's having a negative effect, and it's masked by people trying to not look homophobic or transphobic. They are just
yeah.
saying, like, yes, I agree with you, because looking into it, I don't know, is like homophobic. Like,
Right.
I mean, getting them tested is like, I mean,
It
not right. Like, why aren't we
Yeah,
doing
why
that,
wouldn't
right?
you? Right, that and that's the thing. So that's the part where I start to look at the hierarchy of this situation. And
Yeah.
let's just be honest, there's something going on up here. We're just,
Yes.
the young people are just fodder. They're just part of whatever experiment is happening or whatever. But there's some powerful people up here, sort of making this happen, because why would anyone be scared to question transitioning of children? Why would anyone? And
Yes.
you're right. Everyone doesn't want to be transphobic. So see how
Yes.
smart they are? They threw that transphobic word in there so that everyone will be like, I'm not going to say anything, or I'm going to be called
And that's
transphobic.
really messed up, because we
It
should
is.
really save that word for people that are
That's right.
actually like that. And I think the world would be far better off.
Well, we'd actually get down to the problem, which is real transphobia. But when
Mhm.
you're faking it, it's not fixing it, it's making it worse. They've made
Yeah.
transphobia worse than, let me tell you, as a 30 plus year transition person, I say it all the time. I have never felt so much transphobia as I felt today. And
Yeah.
why is that? And why is my own community transphobic on
Yes.
some level?
Did you see Dave Chappelle,
Of
that
course.
thing he
Yep.
did?
Yep.
That was his friend, that trans woman, that was his
That's
friend.
right.
And
That's
I
right.
thought that was really messed up, how the community, like, was like
They're
that to
liars.
her, and then, like, she
Yeah.
ended up committing suicide, and I think that's, like, really fucked up. And, like,
Ugh.
he really was friends with Dave Chappelle, and how dare the whole world, like, say F
I,
you for that, you're transphobic, both of you.
I
Like, he
know.
went to the funeral of the family, knows him, he grieved
That's
his
right.
friend.
That's
And
right.
how are we really gaining acceptance in the world
Or
if we're
not.
saying screw you to Dave Chappelle? Like, that was his
That's right.
friend. I mean,
Also, he's a great friend of one of my friends here in LA who's a trans woman, and
that's
he
so
hangs out
cool.
with her all the time. It's complete and utter nonsense. This is what's called, I believe, gaslighting and manipulative behavior in order
Yes.
to stop us from questioning what the hell is going on here. And I'm a huge fan of Dave Chappelle. I love comedy. Comedy is important. It's a way that we really get messages out there through comedy, whether it hurts your feelings or not. Feelings are not feelings are feelings. That's your own, we're not teaching people to take control of their own if I hurt your feelings right now, Deanna.
No.
That's right.
It's it's hard to talk about the people that have killed themselves in our community.
That's right.
How we have failed to help them.
That's right.
That's right. Why I just got a little upset for a second.
No, you should get upset, and I appreciate you being so vulnerable because you're on some level part of what a lot of people in this community feel. Me and you are in the same community. We are actually, and I lived a lot of my life as a gay woman, so I have a lot of compassion for gay women and women. That I fight for women's rights, and I don't believe that we as trans people are entitled to just take space. We're not.
Yes.
Why would we be? That's not fair. And what is fair is creating an equal playing field, and that's not by taking other people's rights away. That's not an equal playing field. That's something else. I want to coexist with you, my friend. I want to be and then trans just goes away, and lesbian just goes away, and we're just two humans hanging out in the same space. And that's what people are missing here. Like, most people just want that. And most people aren't transphobic, but when you start to be forced to feel a certain way, or you start to be forced to accept something that you don't necessarily want to accept because of your religion or your way of being, how do we not I don't care if somebody doesn't respect me or take me in. I really just don't care. I find, because not everybody is going to like me, and not everyone's going to be okay with you being a gay woman. They're just not. But you know that, and you're like, okay, so what? Who cares?
Not just so what. I just want those women, masculine women, to know there is a space for you.
Yes.
I just want to say, in preschool, like before kindergarten, in preschool for Halloween, I was Bob the Builder. I mean, anyone that says that today would say I'm trans today because of it, but I'm not. I am a masculine woman. I am an electrician. I do trade stuff. My girlfriend is in school for botany. We want to grow, all kinds of great stuff together. And it's a beautiful natural life that I didn't know was possible when I was a child.
Yes.
And I know now, that there was nothing that anyone could say to me to really explain how life was going to be for me and what I was going to learn and who I was going to meet. And it's a long life. It's not just now I'm going to kill myself. I have to transition. If I'm going to kill, no one gets anything in life if they say they're going to kill themselves or else.
Right.
I mean, I said,
it's not true.
Word.
That whole suicide thing is really dangerous.
I know.
When you start to say, if you don't transition your kid, you're going to kill himself. Prove that. I want proof. I want, not that I don't want a kid to kill themselves. Of course not. I was suicidal at one point in my life. Not a lot of people are, not just trans people. There's a lot of people in our whole LGBTQ community that are suicidal, as well as regular other people in the world. Suicide is, a thing. It's sad, but going back to your point of being a masculine woman and seeing that, and then that's why representation on some level does matter. And so I feel like I was a masculine woman who chose to take the transition route 30 years ago, and all my friends hated me for it back then. All the lesbians just hated it, and I get it, and I understand it, but at the same time, I feel like today we're not celebrating the masculinity of women again.
That. Why is it a bad thing to?
It's not.
I know, but it's not. Almost like it is
because they're making it that way. Because I think there's this idea that if you do transition and you are masculine, now let's be honest here. It's not easy to be a masculine woman in the world. People say mean things. People are very rude about masculine women. They just are, because it's not feminine or women enough. But it's a hard space to live in at sometimes. But that being said, it's also an important space to live in because it's your authentic space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally. I mean, I've been through many years of therapy. So sometimes people are like, oh my God, you should be a therapist. But You know, I'm like, no, the electrician men need me. They
That's right.
like they have no idea what's going on.
Brilliant.
Like I am needed. Men just say the darn crazy things to you when you're
I
like,
know. I
like
know.
they there's like the toxic masculinity world where they can't say emotional things to men, and then they're afraid if they say that to women, the woman won't find them attractive, or the weak for having feelings because of the toxic masculinity. And I think that's like real in a sense that they like can't talk about their feelings as much, and that
That's true.
I mean, but everyone can't really talk about their feelings.
Nope. It's
I mean,
hard.
yeah, it's a
But
world.
men aren't taught to, as you
Yeah,
know. So I'm living as a female half my life, and then I do connect to my more emotional, vulnerable side, and I don't care, and I'm not
yeah,
a weak man for it. And I think it's
yes,
important. I've had men
yes.
tell me, "Thank you for doing that. It's given me permission to cry," and I think that is so powerful for me to hear that from a man. So you being a woman in a man's world is so powerful, because you're right. You have an opportunity to help dudes stop being really sort of on some level
And that's what
misogynistic.
I think real, like, what I'm trying to get to is because, like, if I really explain, like, how I felt about gender, people would be like, oh, duh, you're non-binary. But, like, I'm not. Like, you know what I
What?
mean? Like, I'm not.
What?
Like, I,
But wait, tell me why people. I want to know. So tell me why people would consider you non-binary. What? Because of
like, I don't know. I'm a cross-dressing homosexual. Like, I don't
right on.
I, I don't own any female clothing. I mean,
So
yeah, I know, but like that's what I'm saying. Like people like think you're a masculine person. They use they pronouns for you, and it's like not what it is. Like,
they actually sort of put their own idea of who you are on you. They
which
don't
is
give.
more transphobic and more like homophobic in this way
That's right.
that I'm saying. Like,
Wow.
sorry, I'm
Wow.
trying to bring it. Like,
No,
it's they're making more of a binary, is what I'm trying to say. They're
I
saying like
see.
I had my hair short for 10 years of my life. Like
Mhm.
I had it short, like that's like how I was. I only wore men's clothing, short hair, but like that doesn't make me trans. And I know too many people today that say, okay, did you see Umbrella Academy? Did you see when Elliot Page came out? What was that? She just got one haircut and she's a man now. That's
That's
not
right.
what makes you a man. That's what I'm saying. There's
That's
these
right.
like rudimentary ideas like, oh, short hair, men's clothing,
Mhm.
you're trans. But that's
That's
not
right.
what makes a man. That's not what makes a woman. I
That's
mean,
right.
I am a
Yep.
woman and who I am, and it doesn't matter the clothes that makes me comfortable. You know what I mean? Like,
Of course. That
and
when I ever ask me what does it mean to be a man, I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what it means to be a man. I'm actually a biological female who
yeah,
wants to be a man, who really this is a costume. This is an actual costume. I know, I'm very honest. You know that. I know that I'm a biological female, but I want the world to see me as a man. So,
yes,
that being said, I don't want to take on, I would say that I had much more toxic masculinity traits when I lived as a woman than I do as a man. I feel
oh
like
yeah,
since I became myself, less of that idea of what makes you a man went away, because I was trying to overcompensate for looking like a woman and wanting to be like, a dude. So these characteristics, right? I totally agree. That doesn't make you trans. That's why the diagnosis is important, right? It's like
yes, 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 yes,
it's that's one of the root of the problem that we're having here, is that we have this idea of the fact that if you look a certain way, you must be X, Y, and Z. We
yeah,
fought for years to get rid of these sort of gender They're going back to gender stereotypes. When you transition a young kid who says, I feel like a boy or I
yeah,
feel like a girl, you're actually sucking into the gender stereotypes. You're not letting
yeah.
that kid grow up to figure it out on their own,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And like my girlfriend's father, like he's like kind of like not really that accepting, but
Mm-hmm.
like she like the way she explains it is like he thinks I'm gonna have a harder life. And that is true
It
today.
is. Mm-hmm.
If like being trans is hard. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's the life of taking meds that
That's
you
right.
not even sure is gonna make you not kill yourself.
That's
And
right.
I mean, I don't know. We should really like do more therapy, I think, too. Like
Well,
all the
yeah.
yeah, like all the trans like kids I went to that school with, they didn't really have like much gender therapy. Like I know a lot of trans people from that school, and only one of them I've ever known to go to a gender therapist, and she said
Wow.
some fucked up shit to him, so he didn't go back. Yeah.
Wow, that's really
And
great
I'm in a
info.
local area. I live right outside of New York City. Like I don't know why it's like that.
I New York is there's a lot of trans people, youth
Yeah.
in New York
Yeah.
City. And the fact that we don't, so here's what I find quite fascinating. We have way more access to hormones or top surgery than we have access to mental health care.
Yes. Yeah.
Shouldn't that
Yeah.
just tell you all something right there?
And anybody that wants to kill themselves over anything needs mental health care, not any kind of
Not
testosterone
medicine.
or yes. Yeah. Yes. And also I know like people that treat their anxiety with medication only
Mhm.
have a different type of success when they feel like they've recovered in their mental illness, you know? Like
That's right.
it's not less than obviously, but they're it's just different. I don't know.
Well, it's a control. Like
Yeah.
I have my disorder under
Yeah.
control. I
Yes.
will
Yeah.
always have this disorder. This disorder
Yes.
does not go away.
Yeah.
You know, there are times when my dysphoria flares up for whatever reason. If I see,
Yeah.
you know what, when it flares up, when I see stuff like ads for people who get their periods or
Yeah.
men who get
Yeah.
their periods, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
us transsexual people, we try to get away from all of that stuff
Yeah.
because it reminds us of our, you know,
Yeah.
other space, and we're not comfortable. That's our dysphoria. And so
Yeah.
that's why I question what's going on when you
Yeah.
start putting things that are really dysphoric for most transsexual people, but you're like celebrating it on some level. That is
Yeah.
completely opposite of what people, so that's why I have to take this medication
Yes. Yeah.
and do this surgery and do these things in order to, but it's not my end all be all. I don't walk
Yes.
the world, you know, well, I kind of do on some level because I became
Yes. Yes.
I became this person, but it wasn't why I did it.
Yeah. I'm making the connection of like the mental illness too. Like my mom, like she takes anxiety meds for her
Yeah.
anxiety, and
Yeah.
I do more therapy than I do
Yeah.
medication. And when her medication, like, you know, randomly, like it trigger, like it just doesn't balance what it's supposed to balance in that moment for whatever, like randomly, like doesn't work sometimes.
That's right.
But she's like left defenseless because she didn't go to therapy and learn like coping skills and like
Yeah.
what her like what she sounds like when she's like giving in to anxiety or like, you know, a fear and bad thing, you know. So that's why it's like not just like mental illness, but like trans with that too. Like when you see the period commercial, like I assume you're like good, like now you're like, okay, take a deep breath, do whatever coping skill I need, and then it doesn't bother me.
Right.
And that makes you better off to have success and not want to kill yourself, regardless of any surgery I think you had when you were a child.
That's
too.
right.
Like surgery as adult, if you really need it, if you really, that's real informed consent.
That's
The
right.
things I knew as a child, when they were giving me medication for all kinds of things, not just being like the trans, anything. I mean, it was all mental illness and and drug addiction. I mean, like,
Wow.
I want to talk about that too.
Yeah. No, I want you to talk about that.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's like really just like where I live on the East Coast. Like I know opiate addiction affects a lot of people here, but I also know that opiate addiction is the leading cause of death for people like 20 to 30, right? It's like the 21 to 28 range.
Yep.
And that is really fucked up that that's number one cause of death. We shut down the whole country for COVID and like
So smart. You are smart.
Yeah.
You are smart. That's exactly right. but people don't say anything about that. What about fentanyl? What about all big pharma? It's all of this is coming from big pharma. The fact that you would want to medicalize, see how they brainwashed everybody. You're going to kill kids if you don't let them. No, you're actually killing the kids, because I talk to detransitioners and they had surgeries when they keep saying they're not giving kids medicine. Oh, really? I'm sitting next to a live detransitioner who actually had surgery, who had hormones at 13 and got her breasts removed at 14. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
I wrote a comment. It was funny you said that earlier about the comments. I wrote a comment on your picture the other day that was really messed up about the mom you talked to with the kid in Jersey. Yeah, that was messed up. But someone commented, like, no one's giving trans drugs to kids. Like, you're an idiot. No one's doing it. I know them. I witnessed. I know them. They're my friends.
We see it. We actually physically see it. So I don't know what your people are seeing, because your head is in the sand, but that's the manipulative gaslighting. That's why when I speak to people like you, or we put it out on the internet and we're starting to push back against these people, I want anyone to transition who needs to transition. But I'm going to tell you, I don't believe in trans kids. I believe kids have dysphoria. They have mental health problems. They need, it's here. What's happened to me is here. It's not physical. I needed to work on this before I could work. We're not working on this. We're literally going straight to the physical. What?
Yes. I was very close with a friend I had in that school. She was schizophrenic and she had a lot of body dysmorphia with that, and it caused her to have eating disorder, like throwing up and is not eating. And it like affected her a lot, but like the way that was is very similar to gender dysphoria too. Like, he literally described it like she would order clothes for herself and they would come in like triple XL, and I swear she was a small in men's, like in a t-shirt, and she would like, she's like, I think I look like that. Like, I look at myself in the mirror and I literally see a huge person. And she thought she was that big that she had to wear big clothes, and it wasn't anywhere close to what size she was. And I think that's a similar story people say with like the gender stuff. Like, I see a man when I'm a woman, or when I see the opposite.
That's right.
That needs to be treated. That's mental,
disorder. That is a disorder. And then someone sees themselves in a different way. Why are we not treating that disorder through the mind? Because it's a mind thing. If you actually see yourself as a little person, or a fat person, and you're a skinny person, there's something going on there. If you see yourself as a boy, but you're really a girl, there's something going on there. It's not normal. Stop trying to normalize it, okay? Because you're not normalizing it. There was a quote from a detransitioner that said, "You're not normalizing it. You're popularizing it." There's a big difference between actually trying to get people to accept us, which is normalizing it, or popularizing it. So it's very attractive to young people.
Yeah, and let me tell you, this was before Caitlyn Jenner was on Vogue. So it was
right. So, but now trans is everywhere. Trans is everywhere.
Yes.
And that blows my mind. I mean, is that actually normalizing it? No, because I think people are very mad at us more than they're accepting us.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, that's not normalizing it. That is popularizing it, which means it's not going to stay up there forever. Popular, right? Because things that are popular change, right? Once was popular and yesterday might not be popular. So if we're only popularizing trans, that's dangerous.
And it's very important to assimilate for your mental health.
That's right.
It is.
That's right.
It makes you feel better. You cannot survive when your community doesn't accept you. You will do anything to be a part of something and not be the man on the outside, because you know what that is in our DNA for thousands and thousands. And, if we weren't accepted by our community, we died. If we couldn't be in this tribe and share the crops and work as a community and watch each other's kids and, do all the things when we were hunters and gatherers, if we couldn't be a part of that group, we died. We were alone. We couldn't fend for ourselves. And to be a part of this community is what everyone should feel, really. Like, no one should get kicked out because you're not really trans, but we should call it something else. That
That's
you
right.
need, like, I don't know, like, you went through it
Well,
today, like, be an ally. Like, you don't have to, like,
or be
yeah,
whatever, even, yeah,
yeah,
be an ally or just be
yeah,
you. Or, I think a lot of these young people could also be gay,
yes,
and they're
yes,
not dealing,
yes.
what they like to say. They love to say that I have internalized transphobia, which is hilarious. But that being said, maybe some of the kids have internalized homophobia.
I
They
learned
could.
about that in therapy like last year. No one ever talked to me about that. It
Yeah.
changed my whole world understanding, making me a better person. When
Wow.
I had a gay therapist for the first time, and he was like, "Have you ever fucking thought about internalized homophobia?" I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And he's like, "You like low key hate yourself for no reason because you have this understanding that the world perceives you as different, and they will probably be mean to you because of that, because of learned trauma, like, you
Right.
know what I mean, like, of being ostracized and excluded, and it like makes you behave like different behaviors. Like CBT therapy, the whole thing of CBT therapy is like your thoughts
Mhm.
influence your feelings, influence your behaviors, and
That's
that's a
right.
full circle. And I mean, yeah, I
Wow.
get it now, and it has relieved a lot of suicidal ideation for me. And
Wow.
it's not in like a mean way. Like,
No.
we all learn that. And that took 10 years of finding different therapists,
Yeah.
trying again. This guy said this stupid thing, whatever, see someone else,
Mhm.
try again and again. And a lot of these doctors are stupid, but you'll find one of them
That's right.
someday that really helps you. And
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone keep on trying with the therapy. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you. That really means a lot that you just said that. That's the thing. I always say you don't have to stay with your therapist. If you don't feel, you can find another one.
yes,
It's you finding, and not all therapy is going to work for you. That's also important. And so really you love yourself, my friend. You are willing
oh
to do the work.
yeah,
That's what, you have to work. It's not, things aren't just given to you. And I feel like today we're teaching a young generation that anything you want, you get, which is so absurd because we're not teaching them real life skills. And
yeah,
that's not true. When you get out into the real world, good luck, my friend. You're going
yeah,
to be lost and completely freaked out because no
yes,
one's going to give you what you want.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
We're
completely
doing a disservice to the young people.
That's what I mean. I'm very thankful for that school I went to, but in a way, like, yeah, absolutely, the percentage of kids that went to 4 years of college and graduated is much lower than public school. Like,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Tell me about why you're so why you feel so lucky that you went to that school. Tell me what that school did for you.
I like really would have killed myself if I didn't connect with people that were like me, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And I need,
Right.
like, those places need to exist.
That's
And
right.
um these kids need to find each other, but it doesn't need to be over the shared common trait of we want to cut off our boobs, or
Right. Right.
it's we should really talk about the trauma that
That's
a lot
right.
of
No,
women in our community endure. And
yes, that's right. I think
so
so.
it's hard to
I
talk
feel
about,
you.
even, yeah, yes.
So that being said, do you feel like at your school it was sort of not so gay women weren't necessarily as celebrated as if you were trans. So people were like, if you're a masculine woman, you must be trans. Was that kind of happening there?
I like didn't feel that
Hmm.
pull personally, but I
Okay.
imagine from the perspective I had, like,
Mhm.
other people were feeling that. Yeah.
Were there other gay women at the school?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And most of them, like, ended up doing the trans thing.
Transitioning. Wow.
Yeah. Which
That's really
I
interesting.
didn't understand even
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah. Do you know if any of them have stayed transitioned or did they detransition? Do you know? Or you lost
It's
um
probably 50-50 with the people I kept contact with.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, no science is good if it's 50-50, you know?
No science is good if you have a lot of these people
Yeah,
detransitioning.
that's what I
A
mean. Like
lot.
they're like
Yeah,
they stopped
that's
using that
yeah,
title. They
that's
went,
right. But you know, the community won't talk about detransitioners. They act as if it's a very small percentage. Yet we have a group of 40,000 people in a detran. Not that all of them are detransition, but I heard about 10,000 of them are detransitioning. And
yeah,
I don't even care if it's one. I don't.
yeah. I'm saying it's at least as many people that stayed as many people went back. And
So that says something to
and
me.
also the common thing we had was the mental illness and the like we were bullied and a
Yeah,
lot of us were doing experimenting with drugs very
sure.
early on because of trauma, because
Yeah.
of being ostracized, bullying, all those things. Yeah.
That's right. That's why those schools are very we have those out here in LA
Mhm.
too. We have alternative schools for, people who
Oh yeah.
are just different. I wish I had
Mhm.
that when I was going to
Yes.
I would have I didn't stay in high school because I couldn't handle the bullying. I
Yeah.
had to not graduate, and I'm not a high school graduate at this point. So, not that it's detrimental to my success, because I finally did become on some level a success, but that was after I figured my own shit out.
Yeah.
And so that's why those schools are so important, because what you said
Yeah.
earlier, that word tribalism, that
Yeah.
is a very important part of this conversation and what's happening, I think, within the younger generation. It's
The
very
us
tribal.
against them.
That's right. Right on, friend. Right on. And so, that's why people take on this non-binary space, because first off, you don't have to really transition. You just can say, I am this, and you can fit into a group of people, which again, it all goes back to that tribal space or that fitting in. These are
Yeah.
kids who don't fit in and need to fit in somewhere where, that's very normal. That's been going on forever. And I don't have an issue with someone just taking on an identity. What I have
Oh
issues
yeah.
with
Oh
is
yeah. And I want
transition.
yes. And the half of the people that didn't go through with like medical transition, they
Mhm.
still almost all of them kept their names and
Mm.
that they chose their chosen names.
Yes,
And I think that is beneficial also. Like I know
totally.
even straight people, like two of my cousins, completely straight, not trans,
Yeah,
changed their names. They had to they went through something, they had like family issues and they can't live in the world that
yeah,
it was really that bad.
yeah.
And they have it's I actually know a very close trans friend of mine that I
Mhm,
went to school with.
mhm.
He literally like he was in like kind of like a cult, and he was like when he was younger and was like sexually abused and like a religious like thing. Whatever, he got out, saved, great, and then he like was adopted and all that
Mhm,
stuff. But he said to me, he said, not because of therapy, I know,
mhm.
but he said that, but he said that I couldn't be that girl. I had to completely detach from who that was and who that happened to. And
Wow.
they are a guy now, just so happened. I mean, they could have been a
Yeah,
girl too, but it just
yeah,
happened that this is the new identity they are now. Not in a
right.
like crazy multiple personality kind of way, but this is how we compartmentalize stuff. This is how
That's
we
right.
deal with trauma. This is how
That's
schizophrenia
right.
develops. This is all, they all tie in very close to each other. That's why we really have to go to the psychiatrist and trust the diagnosis. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Because you're right. That one can lead to another, can lead. And now also, if you're not working on that one set of trauma, because all of us have trauma. I don't care. Every person on this face of the earth has some form
Yes.
of trauma.
Yes.
That
Yes.
that
Yes.
I mean, it's weird that we're acting like only a certain group of people, or like, I'm trans. I don't have any trauma. I'm just yeah, you do. I
Yes.
guarantee you there's something going on. And so I
Yes.
can see, and also all of that is so if it's for me, it's if it's healthy for you and it helps you move forward in the world. That's the most
Oh
important part
yeah.
of the
Yeah.
message. And it's like, if you need to
Yes.
self-identify as X, Y, and Z, then that's okay. But the problem for me is when you have co-opted, and I believe transsexualism and transgender, whatever you want to call it, has been co-opted by a group of people that aren't in that space, but need some form of something. They
Yeah.
need something in order to feel a part of. And
Yes.
it's what I see as an
Yes.
older transitioned person who really tried to live in the world as a woman, and it just didn't work out for me. So I took the second tier, and here I stand today, very healthy, very focused, not
Yes.
looking back. That's all I want for anyone who needs or wants to transition, is that
Yes.
healthy path, not the fake
Yeah.
stuff, it'll come back to hit us so hard, and it already is. Detransitioners are literally the reason why we need these conversations, friend.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have this happening to these young people, and you care. It's why you showed up, because you don't have to sit here with me. You don't ever have to say a thing in the whole world, but you are, and
Mm-hmm.
you're here. And that says to me that you care about our community, and you care about other people who've been in your position, and you don't want them to why do you think you didn't take the path of transition?
Okay, now we're gonna go real full circle.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk
Yeah.
about it, but the
Yeah.
opiate stuff. I
Oh,
I know. It's so weird, right?
interesting.
But like in hindsight,
No.
I've been to therapy so many times, right? Like I have this like great hindsight now. In the
Yeah.
moment, not so much. But
Yeah.
when I was 14, I became addicted to heroin. And yeah,
Oh, shit.
and at 13 I was smoking weed, and then 14 graduated heroin, and
Wow.
it was a rough fucking ride. I
Oh
mean,
my
I
God.
was definitely like intravenous, IV
You
user.
were shooting heroin
Yes. Yeah.
at
So
14.
I was shooting it at like 15.
My
But
God, my friend. Wow, I'm so
so
happy you survived.
that's like the thing. A lot of us didn't. A lot of us died, and a lot of us were in this community. And that's really like, why I think like, you know, a lot of people need stuff to deal with that, like to
Yeah.
deal with
Yeah.
the trauma, like
Yeah.
deal with anything that they're going through, and people self-medicate, and that's like a
Yep.
learned behavior. Like, I mean, you're mostly aware when you're a teenager that what would work in a sense that isn't like a coping skill. It's like a maladaptive coping behavior, it's called.
Right.
And
Right.
it's like, yeah, it's like a bad coping skill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, it's really that, like, all of us were going through great emotional distress, and we all needed to really talk about the trauma. But I think, at least with my, like, being an opiate addict, like,
Mhm.
that was like I stopped cutting myself, and then like
Mhm.
I started doing drugs. Like it
Right.
was very like close to that. So I think it was like a
Yeah.
self-mutilating, like I
Yeah.
hate myself, I don't deserve to live, I want to kill myself, I
Yeah.
don't like who I am, and
Yeah.
I just want to fucking die. Like you're a kid, you just
Yep.
feel like that when no one wants to hang out with you or like whatever.
Yep. Yep.
And I guess it was like kind of like, I don't know, you feel like more connected with the people that you're going
Mhm.
through stuff with, to like it's,
Yeah.
because you're going through shared trauma through that too, like
That's right.
young addict.
That's
And
right.
there's so many things that like you don't think are trauma. Like I remember I went to rehab one time, and they had the brochure, and one of the things they said they treated was the trauma of homelessness. And I'm like, oh duh. Like if you don't have a fucking shelter, like, we need three things to
Wow.
live, like food, water, shelter. Like if you don't have a home to be in, obviously you don't feel good, and
That's right.
you're running around doing crazy shit.
That's
So
right. Wow, friend. So were a lot of your friends your age were also addicts? So pretty were you in that high school at this time?
yes.
So a lot of people within that sort of space, and that's not abnormal. It happens today. We all
Yeah.
know kids kids that age are ODing on fentanyl right
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
in LA. It happens constantly, and
Mhm.
and so this is so. Thank you for being so vulnerable.
Yeah.
I'm a recovering addict myself, but I was not shooting drugs at 15. I think I was smoking pot a little bit, and then I became a major alcoholic. But that being said,
Yeah.
I have a lot of compassion for recovery. And, also, you're right. Everything you said, people need to hear. The cutting, the alcohol or drug addiction, young people do these things because they're not, again, and then you're not really working on the trauma. You're just
Yeah.
hiding that trauma, and no one, and then that identity on top of that, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
now if you're going through all that trauma and then you find trans,
Yes. That people, I felt like kind of held on to that to like deal with their trauma, the trans thing, and then I just chose to hold on to drugs. Like that's
yeah,
really, I think, because I really could have been trans right now. Like I'm telling
yeah,
you, like the
yeah,
narrative of how you're trans is
Yeah.
I played with trucks, only trucks, never wore a dress. I mean, that's my life too. Like,
Yeah, no. I mean, I think it's so great that
yeah,
you're saying this because
yeah.
I really think it's important that people hear from from the actual lived person who was around all this. And you could have easily been sucked into this.
Oh yeah.
You're not the only young person that tells
Yes.
me this. You could have easily been said, "Well, I'm masculine. I must be trans," or that's why
Yeah.
they call it trans mask now. And they
Yeah.
have these different
Yeah.
identities. Like, I'm not trans mask. I'm just a dude who was
Yes.
born
Yes.
a woman and got my shit together
Yes.
and grew a beard. I grew, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's so
And
fascinating.
you said before that there's like, a lot of trans people in New York. Obviously, there's a lot of trans people in New York, right?
Yep. Yep.
There's like two lesbian bars and they are cash only. Everyone's like, they make you pay $12. You gotta go outside to smoke. You gotta pay that
Yep.
much to go back. Like,
Yep.
the lesbian community is not alive and well. I mean,
Oh no, I'm very aware of that. I have a
yeah,
lot of gay women friends, and they were doing a sort of I think they did this whole campaign to bring back lesbian bars. But then there's that really thing with trans women who are identifying as lesbian,
mhm,
and that's a whole other conversation. And it's not so black and white. It's not so easy to have that conversation
yeah,
because there is a lot of stuff going there that and I don't understand why we can't have that conversation. It doesn't mean you don't like trans
yeah,
women, but the problem is that there's too many men now self-IDing as trans women and not doing the work, and they don't
yes.
they don't look like a woman, and they're just saying I'm a woman and I don't have to look this way. And of course you don't want them in your lesbian bars.
Shame is like I don't know, so linked to my anxiety for me, and I
Mhm,
think that's also not talked about too. Like,
mhm.
and I think that kind of like led to the like result of not having a lot of spaces for women. And
Yeah,
then as a result of that, I
yeah,
feel like women are now girls are growing up into women and they don't even see like a world that they could be in if they, like they're
yes,
like, I have to be trans mask. Like
that's right.
that's what makes sense. I wear men's clothes.
Yep,
You know, and there's all kinds of things like you could like want to be called in bed too and like
yep,
not do that in life too.
that's right,
Yeah, and not in a
that's
weird
right.
way, but like you
No,
can't tell a child that. And you can't
that's
tell a
right,
child the like great gay life they'll have if they're
that's right.
like you can't tell them
Nope,
like you can't be like, no, you need your boobs. You'll never know how great it you know what I mean? You
that's
can't
right,
tell a child that. So you can
that's right.
only make sure they have their parts until they're an adult and
You
they
have to
really
calm them.
understand.
Yes, that's the thing is like okay, I'm a dad. If you don't know, I'm a
Yeah.
dad to a 10-year-old kid. Yeah, that kid wants all kinds of shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, and no. I don't care if you hate me for the day. Get over yourself. But
Yeah.
that being said, we're not pushing back. We're just giving kids what if a kid says they're trans, first off, my radar goes up because I don't understand how a kid even knows that word trans.
Yeah.
A kid says they feel like a boy or they feel like a girl, or mommy, I want to be a boy or I want to be a girl. But it's the parent's job to push back a little bit on that and to also start to get them into some form of therapy. And then they've shown studies that if you do not transition that child, they will probably most definitely grow out of this idea.
Yeah.
If they have studies on it.
I read the one that was done in Sweden. It
That's
said you're
right.
not any less likely to kill yourself post transition.
That's right.
I don't know when we became like LGBT people were on the side of denying science.
Well, we're not. It's a
Yeah, but
very
like
small group of
they're like
people.
that's not
Yes.
real. Like F
Yes.
you when you
That's
bring
right.
it up when you talk to other people in our community.
Oh no, they're all biology haters because
Yeah, yeah,
because if you deny biology, right, and you say that's a social construct, which is so absurd, then what you're saying is that I'm a biological man because you know what I mean? That's what they're trying to say, that trans women are biological women. Are you kidding me? God, stop it already. Just stop the
yeah.
lies, because that's the reason why nobody likes us, because we're,
Mhm.
well, not me. I mean, I have a lot of
Yeah.
because I'm standing in the spit of lies. I'm like, nope, they're all lying. That's not true. I'm a biological female.
I saw you on that yeah, with Blossom. That was you know,
Hard.
she was kind of saying the same thing you were. She was walking the line. She was almost there. She was
Yep.
like, all right, I think I can say it. This guy, we can't say he's non-binary. He killed people that are
Yep.
gay. We can't say
Yep.
that, right? She was almost there, and then she like reversed.
Yep.
Can't do that. I'll
That's
get
right.
ostracized. I don't even care if I look stupid.
Yep.
And when did we start doing that? Like,
Well, we did it when we didn't want to be ostracized from our community. That's
yeah,
why. That's how
yeah.
manipulative it is, because I don't care. I'm not part of the trans community anymore. It doesn't fit in me. I would say I feel much more comfortable in the lesbian community, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that that's my community anymore, because they're full of lies and deceit. And I'm not a liar, and I'm not here to lie to you about why I transitioned or why anyone needs to transition. People need to transition. Clearly, this is real, and it's an actual real thing, but we can't lie to the world about why people need to do it. And we need to be honest about this child thing, because that's just creepy. And we're making, and then, so I remember I said to her, well, we're making choices for these kids. And she wrote back, no, we're not. These kids know who they are. I'm like, you clearly are not around children.
No.
That's just not true.
No.
That's just not true.
It's just not true. It's just not true. And no matter how grown I thought I was when I was fucking 16, no matter how grown I thought I wasn't. And I was doing everything wrong. I mean, there's nothing you can tell me that would support any, like, I would never support children making decisions that are like, you need informed consent to do. You know?
How can you make an informed choice when you're 10? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, how absurd and disgusting that we would even put that on a child.
Yeah. So,
right?
Yes. So, do you know what? Sorry, I just want to tell you one thing. Do you know what Suboxone is?
Tell me.
So, like, it's half of the drug is called buprenorphine, and it's like an opiate that like kicks the other opiates off your like brain nugs, you know, the little like
the receptors.
Right? Yes. So they like make it so you can't get high, basically. And then the second drug in it is like, it's a naloxone. So it's like the thing that wakes people up after they overdose. It's that.
Right.
So half that drug and then half the drug that's actually an opiate, but it like moves everything off. So that's what Suboxone is. That's what people get when they are coming off of opiates, when they like need withdrawal drugs. That's like withdrawal drugs.
Like methadone. Is it kind of in the methadone space? Is that
methadone's like heavier, like more opiate, but same. Right. So like the drug also comes alone, like for the nasal mist when you're overdosing, or you can get an injection in your butt cheek and it lasts a month and you can't get high on opiates. So like that is not tested on children, like at all. But against my will, my parents, you know, take me to go get it, and the doctor bends me over and, you know, puts the needle in my butt cheek. You know what I mean? Like, and you know what? I don't care, like, not informed consent, right? Because there's no study on any of this for fucking kids. And the stuff that I've looked in as an adult, it's not even that good evidence. But I didn't know, I couldn't make that choice, right? And then because of that, I started smoking crack. Like, because the opiates wouldn't work, I'm still in Patterson hanging out, doing the drugs with all my friends. Okay, crack. And that was a fucking hard time too. God. It's not right that like we just give medications to children.
That's right.
We just can't do that. For so many reasons, for trans, for drugs, for
everything,
for any reason. And like, you can't, I don't know. It's a fucked up system. It really is. It's
because it's all about money. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. It's about money. It's called big pharma for a reason. You don't think that there's going to be tons of money in transitioning children, giving them surgeries? This one does 40 plus top surgeries a month. Come on. Let's just say those are $10,000 a piece. That woman is making a shit money and doing horrible jobs on these kids. So you're right. Great example of the medication on a child.
Yeah, it totally is big pharma, because the same people that make the opiates make the Suboxone, make them get off of it.
You see, oh my God, it's So I'm saying, so what's going to happen is these Lupron, which is the puberty blockers,
Yeah.
saying shit, they're going to come up with something. I think these kids are going to grow up all fucked up, no healthy
Yes.
growth, and they're going to be completely fucked up. And then they come out with a drug that sort of counter reacts the bullshit that happened to these kids.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
wow.
I totally see that happening. They've done it before, and
Yep.
they do it for environmental things too. Like they pollute the water and they pollute the air, and
That's
then
right.
we get sick
That's
with
right.
cancer, and they don't pay for even the health care for you to try to live from it. I know it's
absurd.
The
And
healthcare is
disgusting.
truly the issue.
That's right.
Yeah. If we invest more money into that, that'd be cool. And that would be truly homophobic. And then Joe Biden wouldn't have to talk to Dylan because he would be doing enough for people that suffer. And there is a link to being in this community and having mental illness. I'm not homophobic for saying that. I'm saying that because that's who I am. Yeah, I know. I'm saying it to like anyone out there. Like that's because it's who I am, and this is my world. These are the people I know. This is who I am. Like
That's right, friend. That's why your voice is important, because you're actually having the experience. But your other experience as a youngster and getting into drugs, and I really appreciate your vulnerability. It means so much to me, because these stories will help a young person will see this. I guarantee you, a young person will see this and say, hey, wait a minute, I need to slow down here. All I ask is you slow down.
Yeah.
You know, when I start seeing, which we all call fast tracking, that's and that's with anything, you know that as well as I do. Anything you fast track is going to be a problem, especially when it comes to medical and understanding our mental state of being, and you know how medicine can be so destructive to our bodies. I mean, come on, I've been 30 years on testosterone. It has destroyed my body, but you know, I've chosen as an adult to let it do that, because for me it was more important to be this person than to be unhappy and, you know, be, I guess, healthy in my body. So, but I made that choice as an adult.
Consent, and it's a fucking God-given right that our founding fathers gave to us. You know, we have freedom with our autonomy of our lives and the happy pursuit of happiness. We are allowed to do whatever we need to make ourselves feel happy, but you don't know what's going to make you happy until you grow up.
That's right. Thank you. Oh, you're such a beautiful soul. You went through hell, but here you are, and I think you're here for a reason. No, the universe loves you. I'm telling you. I think you went through all of that shit at an early age, because you have a future in a lot of things as an electrician, which is awesome. I grew up. My dad is an electrician, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, right on. I think it's so cool that you're in that profession and you're doing your thing, my friend. But you know, before we head out here, I just want to ask you if you have anything, a message that you'd want to say to young people maybe out there, or people who are struggling with mental disorder or drug addiction.
Yeah, there's totally a space for everyone if you just live your life unapologetically who you are, and that gives you also confidence to take on the people that will, you know, say things about you. And that's a part of living. I mean, you get so much better at it as the years go on. No one has anything to really cut off their sex organs about as a child. It can be worked out. You can go to therapy and it'll be fun.
Right. Thank you. Oh, you're so beautiful. Thank you for saying that. And everyone, please comment. And if she wants me to, I'll put all of your contact info, and you know, reach out to Deanna, because she's a beautiful soul and helping. These are how we create a better place for all of us to move forward in our community, because I believe in community. Community is important. It's important for all of us, but our community right now is a mess. And I think these conversations can help us all understand we're individuals before we are part of a community. And that is really one of my biggest messages. So thanks, everybody. Comment, like, subscribe, say hi, Deanna, and then I'll see you on the next run. Okay, right on.